So basically consent is provided under section 13 of the Indian Contract Act. So it says that meeting of minds, we are going to discuss all these aspects. Meeting of minds, agreeing upon the same thing in a same sense. The famous maxim related to the consent is consensus ad idem. Law says no consent, no contract. Same thing in the same sense. Okay, just one more example I want to discuss. Devi Vandana, kindly unmute yourself and switch on your video. Devi, I think we have discussed right now. Okay, just now we have discussed, right? Please
Yes, sir.
mute yourself. Okay, Animesh Mohanty,
Yes, sir.
switch on your video.
Yes, sir.
Animesh, did you got the concept? That means whether the concept of this consent is clear.
Yes, sir.
So Animesh, another proposal.
Yes, sir.
I'm having 5 cars, 5 different cars. Would like to sell one of them.
Yes, sir.
Would you like to purchase?
I have to know which car it is.
Exactly. Which car?
Yes, sir.
Which color?
Which car?
Manufacturing year? Which model?
Yes, sir.
So if Animesh straight away said yes, I'm ready and willing to purchase. So we cannot say there is a consent. Because maybe I was thinking for white car, he is thinking for blue car. So there must be meeting of minds. Only then we can say there is a consent. So Animesh, thank you. You can mute yourself. Now this is one thing that there must be a consent from both the side. This consent again must be a free consent. It's not like that the only consent is there. The consent must be a free consent. So free consent here means that the consent must not be obtained by force. There must not be a force to the other party for the purpose of entering into a contract. So very, very important is that there must be a consent and there must be a free consent. When we can say that the consent of a party is not free, it is actually defined in the Indian Contract Act 1872. It was defined that when we can say that there is no free consent in a contract. And it is a mandate that whenever a party is entering into a contract, the parties must willingly enter into a contract. Their will were not forced. They were not forced to enter into a contract. There is no kind of force for upon the parties to enter into a contract. So consent must be a free consent. When we can say a consent is a free consent, that is a law which is defined under section 14 of the Indian Contract 1872. So I just would like to show you that section. Please confirm whether this document is visible. Or not.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me check. Deepshika, whether I am audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Deepshika, switch on your video also, and could you please read this section, section 14?
Yes, sir. Sir, free consent. That one, sir.
Yes, section 14.
Yes, sir.
I'm highlighting that.
Free.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Free consent defined. Consent is said to be free when it is not caused by concession as defined in section
Coercion.
15 or
This coercion.
coercion. Okay. Coercion as defined in section 15 or under influence as defined. Sir,
Yes. Now whether it's clearly visible?
no, sir. Just little bit. Yes, sir. No.
Visible clearly now?
Yes. Now. Yes.
Okay.
Caution as defined in section 15 or under influence as defined in section
Undue.
undue influence as defined in section 16 or fraud as defined in section 17 or as defined in section 18 or mistake subject to the provision of section 20, 21 and 22. Consent is said to be so caused when it would not have been given, but the existence of such caution under influence, fraud, misrepresentative or mistake.
Okay, Deepshika, thank you. You can mute yourself. Aditya, roll number 7. Aditya Anand,
Yes, sir.
unmute yourself and switch on your video.
Yes, sir.
Aditya, can you also read this? Section
Yes, sir.
14.
Free consent defined. Consent is said to be free when it is not caused by coercion as defined in section 15 or undue influence as defined in section 16 or fraud as defined in section 17 or misrepresentation as defined in section 18 or mistake subject to the provisions of sections 20, 21 and 22. Consent is said to be so caused when it would not have been given but for the existence of such coercion, undue influence, fraud, misrepresentation or mistake.
Okay. Thank you, Anand. You can mute yourself.
Yes, sir.
So, please try to understand that what law has said. Law has stated that firstly, there must be a consent. Secondly, the consent must be a free consent. Law have defined the situation that when we can say that the consent is not free. So for that purpose, law have provided 5 different points. Section 14, subsection 1, subsection 2, subsection 3, subsection 4, subsection 5. In 5 points, the law have defined that when we can say the consent is not free. So law have stated that if any of these elements were present in a consent, then we can say that the consent is not a free consent. So either from these 5 points, if any one factor is present in a consent, then we can say that the consent is not free. And so for this purpose, I have in my slide, I have included something which I would like to show you. That is the first slide. Please confirm whether my screen is visible. Whether my screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, do you remember the concept of voidable contract we have discussed in the initial classes? Voidable contract. Anyone remember? What do you mean by voidable contract? In the kinds of a contract we have discussed.
Yes, sir.
Anyone remember?
Yes,
Please
sir.
go ahead.
Contract which is most likely to get cancelled.
Likely to get cancelled. Okay, anyone else?
So which is unrecognizable in the eyes of the law.
Unrecognizable in the eyes of law. Okay, anyone else? Please think again. Voidable contract. Think on this.
So
I think
failure by one of the parties.
one of the parties what?
So failure by one of the parties, like if there are two parties, if one doesn't consider, so that becomes a voidable contract.
Okay. So that means majority of you forget it. That means didn't remember. Now the point here is, if there is any kind of force upon the party for the purpose of entering into a contract, in that case, that contract will be a voidable contract. So you remember the consent obtained by putting a gun on the head. How about that? That I put a pistol, that kindly sign the document, otherwise I kill you. Forcing someone to enter into a contract. You forget it. Didn't remember. So let me again tell you that it is a kind of a contract where parties were forced to enter into a contract. Law says that whatever contract is formed, the party must enter into a contract with a free will, willingness, with all the parties must be willing to enter into a contract. There must be free will to enter into a contract. The parties must not be forced to enter into a contract. In case if the force were used and if the parties were forced to enter into a contract, that contract will be a voidable contract. And in case of a voidable contract, a party who was forced to enter into a contract got a right, got an opportunity to go to court and make that contract null and void, to make a contract zero. So when one party got this right to make a contract zero, null and void, that is a case of voidable contract. That is a kind of a voidable contract. And it will happen only from section 15 to section 19 only. The voidable contract, the concept will be applicable from section 15 to section 19. So this is the aspect related to voidable contract. Because the consent was obtained by force, and actually the party is not willing to enter into a contract, but he was forced for entering into a contract. So he got an opportunity, he got the right from the law that he can make a contract voidable. He can make a contract null and void, zero in the eyes of law, by filing a case in a court. So that is one thing. So do remember this chart is very, very important, because if you can see from coercion till misrepresentation, contract which is voidable. And if you see the last point, that is mistake. The effect of mistake is it is an agreement which is void. So please do remember that if a matter is related to mistake, and if mistake is there in the agreement, it is an agreement which is void, it will never form a contract. That means if there is a mistake, the contract doesn't come into existence. The contract will never form. But in the other cases, if the matter related to coercion or undue influence or fraud or misrepresentation, then it is a contract which is voidable. If the matter falls within the concept of mistake, it is an agreement which is void, it will never form a contract. So this chart is very, very important. Do remember always this chart. So now let me proceed further. This we have discussed. So free consent for the, as I have discussed with you, please check the points. So we would be discussing about the force, what kind of force I am talking. Now, let us begin with the factors. So, if in a contract, if the parties were forced, so coercion, anyone aware what is coercion? Anyone aware of this terminology, coercion? Abranil?
Yes, sir.
Whether you
Hello.
Yes, Abranil, whether you aware of anything?
Sir, it is like a sort of external force I am using on someone to give him a sector so he enters into a contract.
So Abranil, can you quote any example?
Sir, like that one, let's say I have asked someone to sign a gift deed in favor of me with a gun pointing towards him. So it's a like coercion.
Okay. So Abranil, you are absolutely correct. Whatever Abranil have stated. So coercion, it's basically a kind of a force. But at the same time, what kind of force could be included in coercion? That is a question. Now to clarify this doubt, the law have prescribed something. Law have straight away said that coercion should be some act. Let us, Abranil, please unmute yourself. With the same example, I would like to stretch it. Now the point here is, Abranil,
Yes.
putting a gun on someone's head, whether it's a crime.
Sir, if that gun is a real gun,
Yes, it is a real gun, real gun.
then sir, it is not a crime directly, but it is like I can put it. If there is no bullet in the gun, then it does not make sense also.
Again, please, now you have raised some other question also related to it, but fine. Let us make it straight. Whether putting a gun on someone's head, whether it's a crime, are you aware of this?
Sir, I don't think it's a direct crime. Like there is
Okay,
no.
I will guide you. I will enlighten you all. Killing someone is a crime.
Yes, sir.
Threaten to kill is also a crime. I hope you got the answer now.
Yes, sir.
So the point here is, killing someone is a crime. It is defined under Indian Penal Code. There is a law which is called as IPC 1860, in which it was defined that it's a crime. But at the same time, threaten to kill someone, it is also a crime. Attempt to kill someone, it's also a crime. So that means putting a gun on someone's head, it's a threatening to kill, isn't it? So threatening
Yes,
to
sir.
kill is also a crime, which is given in the IPC, Indian Penal Code 1860. There is an act, there is a law. So the point here is what contract have defined. They have defined beautifully that we can say that any act is a coercion if that act is as per Indian Penal Code 1860. That means they have straight away said that any attempt, and if that attempt is written somewhere under the Indian Penal Code 1860 as a crime, then if that party used that force, that act on some other party for the purpose of entering into a contract, we have to say it's a coercion. So any act which is punishable by law, which is given under Indian Penal Code, if that act is done on the other party for the purpose of entering into a contract, in that case, it's a coercion under section 15. Abranil, thank you for the examples. So
Thank you, sir.
this is clarified under the Indian Contract Act. Now, few things we have to understand more. Aman Vaibhav. Aman,
Yes, sir.
switch on your video also.
Yes, sir.
So Aman, whether it is clear to you?
Yes, sir.
So I think one act is clear, threatening to kill someone.
Yes, sir.
So it's a coercion. Now what if I say that Aman, I am going to kidnap your father if you do not enter into a contract with me?
Sir, it is still a crime.
It's still a crime.
Yes, sir.
It's a threatening to commit kidnapping.
Yes, sir.
And threatening to commit a crime is a crime under IPC.
I didn't get you, sir. Sorry.
I'll tell you. What I am doing, I am threatening you
Yes, sir.
that kindly enter into a contract, otherwise I'll kidnap your father, isn't it? So the point here is kidnapping is an offense.
Yes, sir.
It's a crime.
Yes, sir.
But threatening to kidnap is also a crime,
Yes, sir.
which is actually defined in IPC 1860. It is written somewhere. So law says it's a coercion also. So that means if you say yes, if you enter into a contract because of this force, it's a force. So you got an opportunity, you got the right, even after entering into a contract, after completing all the contractual obligations, you can approach the court and you can cancel this contract and make a contract voidable and make the contract zero. So you got a right because upon you I have applied coercion. I have forced you to enter into a contract. So coercion are basically the acts which were there in the IPC. So if I apply any of that force, in that case it's a coercion, and other party got a right, got an opportunity to cancel the contract, to go to the court. But at the same time, let us assume, Aman,
Yes, sir.
I am a very big gangster and you are aware of that, and you also aware that let us not what I say, let us not tell someone that it happens with you, so let it be a contract. So let us proceed further. Otherwise, what will happen? Maybe next day again I'll threaten you, I'll kill you if you disclose anything like this to the police or to anyone. So in that case, Aman, law also give this opportunity to you. If you want to continue with the same contract, in that case, law is not going to intervene. It will work like a normal contract, but for a limited period of time, going to court, this slot will be open for you. Maybe for 90 days or maybe for 120 days, you can go to court and you can cancel the contract. If you don't want to cancel the contract, it will work as a normal contract. So it's the opportunity given to you. So I hope, Aman, it is clear, whether it is clear to you,
Yes, sir.
whether it is clear to all of the batchmates. I think it is maybe clear. If there's a doubt, you can ask. Aman, thank you. You can switch off the video. So using force against someone to convince them to enter into a contract. Force may be the acts which is forbidden by law, which is not allowed, which are illegal. Few more examples I would like to discuss with all of you. Let me check with whom I can discuss. Okay, let us take the overseas candidate, Afsana. Am I audible to you? Afsana Azmi.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir. Give me a minute, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, Afsana. So
Yes, sir.
deliberately I would like to discuss this as an example, because you are an overseas candidate, right? So
Yes, sir.
you are attending the classes from which place?
Saudi Arabia?
Okay. So like Afsana, your 10th mark sheet is with me.
Yes, sir.
I threatened you that I'm not going to return your 10th mark sheet until and unless you enter into a contract with me.
Yes, sir.
So
And?
what you will do? Whether it's a kind of a force on you?
Yes, sir. Of course it is.
I am going to tear off your 10th mark sheet.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's a force.
What about your passport? I am going to tear off your passport.
So that's a huge force.
Huge force. So I say that Afsana, I am going to tear off your passport which is in my possession. If you do not enter into a contract with me, I am going to tear off your passport.
Yes, sir.
A coercion?
Yes, sir.
No, why it's a coercion?
Because you're threatening me to enter into a contract illegally.
What illegal thing I am doing? I am just tearing off a paper, a piece of paper.
So that's what helps me go to another, travel to another country.
So I'm not killing someone. I'm not kidnapping anyone. I'm not hitting anyone. I'm just tearing off a paper.
Yes, sir, a huge. That paper contains a lot of. It is important.
Okay, so let me clarify this.
Yes, sir.
So the clarification of this is, now it is your passport. Please, this is for everyone. Please try to understand this concept. This passport belongs to you. And you got all the rights, all the legal rights to possess your passport, to have the passport in your possession. If I took your passport and if I retain it, it is illegal because that is your property. I don't get any right that I can hold on your passport. I can possess your passport. I can tear off your passport. So you got the legal right. What I am doing, it's an illegal possession of your property. So this is an illegal possession. So again, illegally possessing a property is a crime under the Indian law, that is Indian Penal Code 1860. It was written. Illegally, you cannot possess someone's property. It's a crime. So I am doing that for the purpose so that other person can enter into a contract. So I'm forcing Afsana on the basis that please enter into a contract. I'm not saying please, I'm saying I will tear off your passport. I'm threatening. So it's a crime, and purpose of entering into a contract. Now suppose with this force you enter into a contract and executed a contract. Later on, you got the right from the law, you can go to court, you can make a contract voidable. You can say the court that there is a threatening and the other person wants to tear off my passport. They are not returning my passport. So hence I have entered into a contract. Kindly make a contract zero. So it's the court now to decide. But we got an opportunity. So thank you, Afsana. So definitely I'm not going to impound your passport, not going to tear it off.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so let us proceed further. Now, these are the aspects which are related to coercion. I hope you are writing all the examples. Very, very important. Okay. Now, what will be the effect if it is clear or if it is proved in the court that yes, the coercion is there? In that case, the effect is the contract will become a voidable contract at the option of the party whose consent was obtained by force. So whichever party was forced to enter into a contract, in that case, that party can make that contract voidable. One thing. If the party wants to continue with the same contract, then law says it's fine. You can continue with the same contract. That's not an issue. So, other thing. Now, a case related to it. So this is Muthaiya Chettiar versus Karuppan Chetty. So please listen it very carefully. Now, this Karuppan Chetty is an agent in an agency. So the agent is work on behalf of the principal. Principal is an agency. Whatever task assigned to Karuppan Chetty, he have to perform that task. And on the basis of it, he is going to receive some remuneration. Now, at the same time, because Karuppan Chetty is an agent of the agency, this agent have an access to lot of confidential document of the agency. And in his possession, there are a lot of confidential document of the agency is with the possession of Karuppan Chetty. At the same time, there are so much of liabilities on this agent. So agent have to give some money to the agency also. So agent is possessing some money which belongs to the agency. Now this agent quits the job. He resigned from the job and is about to join some other agency. Now, while resigning, it was clarified that Karuppan have to give the money back and at the same time have to return all the confidential document of the agency. But what happened? This Karuppan Chetty, this agent, has threatened the agency that kindly give me in writing, kindly enter into a contract with me that company, this agency is going to discharge all my dues, whatever on me, against the agency. That means whatever the amount the agent have to return it to the agency have to write this that they have received it. Whatever the debts or the money received from the agency as a loan, so the agent wants that the agency will have to discharge the agent from all the debts. They have to write it and make a contract. Even if the point here is he don't want to give the money to the agency, so he said just write a document that I have already given, discharge me from all the liabilities, only then I am going to give back your confidential documents. So all the confidential documents, they are in possession of the agent. So based on this force, the agency enter into a contract because of the confidential documents. And after the contract, this agency have received the confidential documents. After receiving the documents, they filed a case in a court through the authorized representative against the agent and asked the court to cancel the contract, asked the court to make a contract voidable. Now the point here is whether we can say it's a coercion. So please type your answers in a chat box. Can we say it's a coercion? So 1, 2 have said yes. If you want me to repeat the facts, I'm open for it also. Okay, but I want the answer. 3 have stated yes. What about others? I've started getting the answer, but I want the answers of everyone. Hargovind.
Yes, sir.
What is your answer?
Sir, I am not able to understand the question properly.
Whether you're able to understand the facts?
No, sir, they just went a bit over it.
So you must have asked me the facts, okay? All right, so here the answer is yes. Absolutely, there's a coercion because it's a kind of illegal possession. Because he is now outgoing agent, he is retiring from the job, that job he is about to join the other jobs. So he have to return all the confidential, all the property related to the agency to the agency. If he's or she's not returning it, it's a kind of an illegal possession of a property, which could be considered as a coercion. Okay, so that is all for today. In the next class, I'll begin with the facts of the same case, and then I will go to the other topics. So that is all for the day. And if there's anything you want to ask, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I will close the meeting. Okay. So even if you want to, yes, Abdul.
I had a doubt regarding this question thing one.
Abrani, your voice is breaking in between. You
Hello,
can switch
sir?
off your video and then speak.
Sir, hello.
Yes. Yes.
Sir, I was asking that, sir, we had discussed one case regarding the contract with a minor.
Yes.
So we know, yes, sir, we know that contract with a minor is void ab initio, as you say.
Firstly, Ranil, I just want to correct you that we cannot use the term contract with a minor. We always have to use the term agreement with a minor because there can be no contract with a minor. Okay.
Okay.
There is always an agreement with a minor.
Okay, sir.
And that agreement is actually void ab initio because contract never going to form because minor is not allowed to enter into a contract. He's
Okay,
not
sir.
eligible. No, your question.
Yes, sir.
but by some means the minor actually uses some coercion on the person by some way. So in that case, what will happen to the
Okay.
contract? Like, is it a
Okay.
contract?
Fine. So the point here is, firstly, minor is not allowed to enter into a contract. Secondly, if minor force someone to enter into any kind of agreement with him, again, we cannot recognize it as a contract, but we can approach the court for the restitution of benefits. There is a terminology, restitution of benefits, whatever benefits given to the minor, that could be restored back. Till those things were traceable. So law have given this opportunity that if there is a mistake, if there is a fraud, misrepresentation, or any action done by a minor which is not permissible, which is illegal, in that case, minor can be held liable for the tortious act. There is a law of tort. In the law, there's a tort. So in that case, the minor could be held liable under tort, but not under a contract. Secondly, there is a concept of restitution of benefits. That means a person who was forced to enter into such agreement, that person can approach the court under specific relief act. There is a different law which is given by the lawmakers, which is called as a specific relief act. And there a party can approach and ask the court that this happens with me, and the person is a minor, and I want these things back. So using those provisions, court can order that, but not under a contract, not under contractual obligations, because we cannot form a contract with a minor. So there are associated laws which can help us in this situation.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Only whether it is
Excuse me, sir.
clear? Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So, do the child artists enter into a contract like for
Do
1
the
year? Child artists.
child artist.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Isha, very good question, because I hope you have seen, many of you have seen, there are series like Balika Vadhu. There are series, so many series with child artists were there. Child artists are working. What about reality shows where child artists are working? So please do remember, all those child artists are actually directly not in a contract, but their parents were in a contract with the producers. So actually their parents were in a contract. You got the point?
Yes, sir.
And who is the beneficiary? Beneficiary is the child. So the minor could be a beneficiary under, he can get the benefit under a contract, but he cannot be a party.
Yes.
So all those are a contract, but done with their parents, not with the child.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, anything else? All right, so thank you everyone for joining. So I'm closing the meeting. Let us meet in the next class. Thank you.